This is the story of a woman who bought a cottage and 3 acres in 2004. She really wanted to have a cottage in the woods, but there wasn't one to be found here in Ireland, so devoid of trees. Not an affordable one anyway. So, this is me. I began planting the trees in 2004. And now I have a cottage in the woods. So in this little video, I want to share with you my woodland. So I'm going to take you on a walk, starting at the very lowest end of the 3 acres and working up through the trees, beyond the cottage, and right up to the stone circle at the very top of the land. I hope you enjoy this video and my little monologue that goes with it. Many people have both returned to Ireland and have decided to come and live in Ireland and have bought cottages and land, and there's much talk about rewilding. Well, the west of Ireland in particular is wild enough. In fact, much of it has been left to cows and sheep and is, in a very beautiful way, sort of wild and free. I never thought about rewilding. I thought very deeply about what had already been taken from Ireland, how Ireland had been stripped of her trees, of her deciduous trees, how the mighty oaks of Ireland, the great Irish oaks, had been taken as a commodity, and much of it ended up within England and France and used for shipbuilding. Because don't forget, back in the 16th, 15th and 16th century, wood was the great commodity, hardwood in particular. The navies were, all the ships were built from wood, from hardwood. The great castles and houses that were built needed to have that same hardwood for beams and timbers and roofing, and so on and so forth. So Ireland was stripped of her one valuable commodity at that point in time, which was the great forests that covered Ireland. And there is a legend that says a red squirrel could traverse the land of Ireland from the very western southern tip, say in Cork, and travel all the way up to the Inishowen Peninsula, all the way along the west coast without touching the ground. So my desire and my will told me that I had to plant trees, that I had to create a deciduous woodland on what was, I was told, very poor land. Well, I won't say much more about the land because you can see for yourselves in this video how incredible the land is and how much fertility lies deep within the soil. And more importantly, the earth below my feet holds the memory of the forests that once covered this beautiful island. Oh, I hear you say, the earth holds memory? Well, we all know that water holds memory. And the water that is on this beautiful earth is all trapped within a biosphere. So we are actually drinking the same water that our ancestors drank, that the dinosaurs drank. So it's not far-fetched to say that the earth herself holds memory. All the bones, all the ashes, all the lives that once lived are here in the earth that we walk upon. Take a minute to imagine that. I was intent on putting back into the land what had been stripped and stolen from her. And so I set about planting birch and willow and oak and alder and all the native species I could find. Most of them I grew from seed. There were some little saplings I dug up on walks that were so near the road they had no chance of growing. And I planted different canopies, different levels. So I wouldn't just plant a tree on its own. I would plant shrubs and plants and ground cover and dug out a pond, divine for a spring well. So in a very short space of time, not only had I worked on the cottage and made it habitable, and that was the key word, by the way, habitable, because I didn't have the money to do any big changes to the cottage. In fact, I've only just recently sorted out a lot of the interior of the cottage to make it habitable for the next 10 years or so. So laying down the road and doing some big works outside ate up most of my money. But planting trees, planting a woodland, cost nothing. Yes, occasionally visitors came, and my father took me to the garden centre at one point and got about 40 bare-rooted trees. They were a couple of euro each. But as you can see, the earth absolutely welcomed everything I planted. And later on I found out that trees communicate with each other and help each other through their root system. And in many ways I saw that, but found it so unbelievable. And it wasn't until scientists and people working with nature and working with environmental science began to uncover the secrets of the trees and the secrets of the fungi, the mushrooms, and the secrets of the earth, and how incredible it all was. That it wasn't just a tapestry above ground, it was a complete dominion beneath the ground. I see this on every walk. In the early days, I mowed. I mowed for hours each week. And the grass and the rushes that came out of the lawnmower box, I would mulch up around trees, trying to feed like with like, trying to imitate nature. There's very little mowing to do now. Just the driveway and the roadside, just to keep it looking neat. But beyond that, the woodland has created her own paths. I say her own because there's such a feminine presence here. And of course, that's Mother Earth. And there's such a deep layer of wood and trees, and there's such a consequential drop of so much from those trees. The leaves, the twigs, the wood, the bird droppings, all of it combines to make layer upon layer of fertility. You know, without trees, we don't have fertility in the land. It's just not possible. People say, oh, well, animals will give fertility. I think if you want to see really great soil, go into a forest. So now I have a little garden around the woodland edges, and a little garden at the back of the cottage that faces into the south. And here it's warm and open to the sunlight. The sun traverses the sky just behind the cottage now during this autumn and winter. And amongst the trees I have lots of fruit trees. About 38 to 40 apple, pear, plum, cooking apple, cherry, damson. And then, of course, comes the rewilding, because nature does her own rewilding. If we give her everything she needs, everything that was stolen from her, if we give it back, she does her own rewilding. And I see it here all the time. I love to keep the little garden up around the cottage because the edges are all woodland. And so I'm just carving out a little niche. And I don't have to look far into that little border, that little divide between me and all the beautiful woodland. I don't have to look far to see how the earth rewilds herself. Well, now that I'm up in the garden around the cottage, let me take you further. Let me take you up to the very edge of the 3 acres. A lot of people ask me how many trees I've planted. Well, on this short tour, I can't possibly show you all the trees, like this beautiful oak. In fact, there are parts of the woodland that I haven't even ventured into today. And I think I stopped counting at around 1100. Now, much of the woodland supports the cottage and the heating. Well, not just the heating, the hot water, the cooking, the boiling of the kettle. And I have little places scattered around the woodland where I can store wood to let it season and dry out. And I do coppicing and pollarding. I rarely cut down a tree. But now that we're up at the back of the cottage, let's walk along the boundary. The boundary fence is up on the right. You can't see it from here. But I'm walking right up into the corner of the property where there's a stone circle. Of course, this land is ancient. It's been inhabited for thousands of years. And all around Bealtaine Cottage, within a radius of about 10 kilometres, there are stone circles and fairy forts and cairns. I don't think I'll ever be done extolling the beauty of trees and the importance of planting them and how we cannot live without them, and certainly how we can't move forward with any civilization without trees. Trees have an amazing ability to take us into the very soul of Mother Earth. They're that beautiful connection from the earth into the sky. They give us so much that I can't even begin to list all the treasures, the importance of trees. And today, with all the talk about climate change and what we need to do, it seems to me that really all we need to do, start to do, to bring about positive change is plant trees. It's funny how governments don't do that.